It was a day like any other, one of those days when the sky seems painted in a deep blue and the sun shines with an almost blinding light. I was on a trip to a small town outside the city for work, a journey I had made hundreds of times. There was nothing extraordinary about that day, or so it seemed. I don't remember exactly how it happened. One moment I was focused on the road, and the next, everything turned to chaos. A car in front of me suddenly swerved, perhaps due to the driver falling asleep or a mechanical issue. I couldn't say. All I remember is the deafening sound of brakes, the screeching of metal against metal, and then the impact. My car was hit on the side, and within seconds it flipped over. I remember feeling my body being violently shaken, the seatbelt holding me tight like a strap around my chest. Then there was silence, a silence so deep and unreal that it seemed impossible after such a loud crash. I wasn't sure if I was still alive, yet in that silence I felt an unnatural calm envelop me. Everything was dark, as if I were in a place outside of time and space. I felt no pain, just immense peace. As I lay there, suspended in that nothingness, I sensed a presence. It wasn't something tangible, but rather a feeling like being watched, or better yet, like someone was waiting for me. Then, without warning, the darkness dissolved, and I found myself in a place that I couldn't define as either earthly or heavenly. It was a landscape of absolute tranquility, where all anxiety and worry had vanished. In front of me stood a figure. It was a man with a serene appearance and a penetrating gaze. He had a face that inspired trust and wisdom, and a presence that radiated infinite calm. He seemed familiar, yet I couldn't place him in my memories. Then, as if he had read my thoughts, the man spoke. His voice was gentle and reassuring, but carried a gravity that could not be ignored. "Do not fear," he said. "I am Jesus." Jesus slowly approached. His steps seemed not to touch the ground, as if he were floating in that space between reality and dream. "You must be wondering why you are here," he began, and his voice seemed to resonate in the air, like a note that softly vibrated in every fiber of my being. Every word he spoke entered my mind with disarming clarity, as if his words were engraved in my soul. "You have been chosen to receive a message," he continued, looking at me with a gaze that penetrated deep into my consciousness. "A message that you cannot ignore because it concerns not only your future, but the future of all humanity." His voice lowered, laden with a gravity that tightened my heart. The earthquake that occurred earlier this year was not an isolated event. It is only the first in a series of natural cataclysms that will shake the planet. The forces of nature will seem to have unleashed themselves against humanity, as if responding to a deeper disorder, a disorder rooted in the very soul of our species. "But this is only the beginning," Jesus continued, his gaze fixed on me. "Floods will inundate lands that were once fertile. Droughts will dry up rivers and lakes, and the earth will tremble again and again, as if trying to rid itself of an unbearable weight." I couldn't take my eyes off him. There was something magnetic about his presence, something that prevented me from looking away, even though every word he spoke made me feel like I was sinking into an abyss of terror and helplessness. "The society as you know it," he said gravely, "will be tested. Human beings will face difficult choices, and many will lose their way. But not all is lost. There will also be hope, and those who know how to listen, those who have the courage to act, will make a difference." At that moment, a series of images flashed through my mind, as if his words had triggered a chain reaction in my consciousness. I saw cities submerged by torrential waters, lands cracked and parched by drought, and desperate people seeking answers and salvation. But I also saw hands reaching out to one another, people coming together in solidarity, searching for a way out, for hope amidst the devastation. I felt a wave of emotions overwhelm me: fear, hope, determination. I was just a man, and yet in that moment I felt that there was something I could do, something I had to do. Jesus moved closer until he could speak to me almost in a whisper, as if his words were meant only for me. "There's more," he said, and in his gaze I saw a knowledge that transcended time and space, a knowledge that was both a blessing and a curse. 2024 will not only be the year of natural disasters, it will be the year humanity makes its first true contact with extraterrestrial civilizations. These words struck me like lightning. Extraterrestrials? It was a possibility I had always relegated to science fiction, to baseless conspiracy theories. And now, before me, Jesus spoke of an imminent encounter as if it were a certain, inevitable fact. "The stars have watched the earth for millennia," Jesus continued, "and the time for first contact is near. However, you must know that the special forces of Earth will do everything to keep this encounter secret. It will not be a public event, not yet. It may take years, perhaps decades, before the truth is revealed to the entire world. But when it does, it will forever change our view of the universe and our place in it." My mind was a whirlwind of thoughts. Telepathy, extraterrestrial contact. It was all so incredible, yet somehow I felt it was all real. But Jesus was not finished yet. He paused for a moment, as if carefully considering his next words. Then he continued in an even more solemn tone. "Remember," he said as the landscape around us began to dissolve, "the future depends on what we do today. Never forget this." Jesus' last words echoed in my ears like a mantra I couldn't ignore, as I felt an invisible force pulling me back, away from that place of peace and knowledge, back to the real world. I awoke with a start. I was still in the car, overturned, with the smell of gasoline and burnt metal in the air. The sirens of ambulances and firefighters assaulted me with their insistence, but within me there was a calm I had never felt before. I was pulled out by the rescuers, who were astonished to find me alive and without serious injuries. As they loaded me into the ambulance, my mind was still immersed in the encounter I had experienced. Every word Jesus had spoken resonated in me, like a powerful and unstoppable echo. After the accident, my life took a completely different direction. Every day was a constant reminder of Jesus' words, and I knew I had to act. I began to write, to speak with anyone who would listen to me. There's not much more to say. Time is running out, and the events predicted by Jesus are already coming true. The earthquake in Japan is just the beginning, and I know that more calamities will follow. But despite everything, there is still hope. Hope that humanity can unite in the face of difficulties, that it can overcome the challenges ahead. My task is now complete. I have planted the seed. Now it's up to you to make it grow. The future is in our hands, and the choice of how to face it lies with each of us. Please do not ignore this warning. Prepare, act, and perhaps together we can avoid the worst. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for taking the time to read this story to the end. The message it carries is crucial, and now I ask you to do your part. Share it as much as possible so that more people can be aware of what is happening. A simple gesture is enough. A like and a comment with Amen. Do not underestimate the importance of your contribution, because every small action can make a big difference. Together we can spread this truth.